Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the News Hour. Lovely to have your company. Well, most of us love wearing fashionable clothes. But did you know that the glitz and the glamour of the fashion industry also has a dark side? According to a UN report, the fashion sector contributes more pollution than aviation and maritime shipping combined. Incredible. Now, consumers, however, are becoming more and more aware of the environmental impact of producing huge amounts of cheap clothes. As a result, sustainable habits such as buying second-hand clothing are catching on. Now, the UN says the fashion industry generates 1/5 of global wastewater. It also accounts for 10% of carbon emissions. The industry also releases 500,000 tons of synthetic microfibers into the ocean every year. And while it's worth around $2.4 trillion, nearly 20% of that is lost due to a lack of recycling. Now, let's bring in fashion designer Louise Halswell, and she joins us now from Margate in the UK. Hello to you, Louise. Now, it's great to see that you are an advocate for finding new ways to create sustainable fashion. I didn't realise that the fashion industry contributed so much to climate change. Do you think consumers are aware of this?
Over the last year, there's definitely been a massive spike in awareness, definitely through my peers in the industry. They've started using a lot more recycled fabrics, looking at where they're buying their fabrics from, and just through like my friends and colleagues talking to them about what I'm doing with my business. They had no idea what the sort of industry and what goes on behind closed doors, and they've started looking into where they're buying their fabrics from, how their buying habits affect the industry.
And what does go on behind closed doors? Tell us a bit more.
Well, I mean, a lot of sustainable brands, I find that you could have a garment which is handmade in the UK, but you've got no idea where the fabrics come from. So it could be a plain cotton garment, plain cotton fabric that's been shipped through 3 different countries, and the raw material is really badly farmed. So it's kind of looking between, and there's brands like that are promoting themselves as vegan brands now, but actually if you look at the clothing they're selling, it's just a normal cotton t-shirt or normal polyester, and to me that doesn't really say anything majorly eco about that. And so it's kind of looking further beyond.
Yeah, and what are you doing?
So in the last year, I'm 95% organic cotton now. So I've taken out nearly all the synthetics, all of my scraps. So all the fabric from the cutting table is now sent to a company called Halatex in the Netherlands, so it can be remade into new fabric. And it means that anything you buy from me can be recycled at the end of it. So essentially, my business is now totally circular and there's no waste.
Okay. And tell us more about how technology is helping you and is helping the fashion industry in general to become a bit more environmentally friendly.
Well, there's lots of different technologies. So for example, like the recycling one, there's lots of new recycling machinery and technology being developed to help take us apart sort of fabric and remake it into new fabric so it doesn't go straight to landfill. Things like waterless dye technology, so that the dye industry is really highly pollutive. And so this kind of technology will help us reduce the amount of water that we're using. Technology towards different, like using mushroom mycelium to grow fabrics, that's a really long way off, and that's quite, of the high-end level. Things like provenance and blockchain technology, so you can really track your carbon footprint of your garment.
And, do you really think that the fashion industry can control this? Because, like you mentioned before, some of the supply chains, you buy something here, but it's made somewhere else, and they are so complicated across so many different countries where there are sometimes lax regulations.
I think that is one thing that we're really struggling to sort of combat and deal with at the moment. I mean, me personally, I buy all my fabric through one supplier, and every stage of that is certified. You can look at certain, GOTS certified cotton. That's an internationally recognised certification. But in terms of sort of like rolling that out as an entire practice internationally, I think that's one of the big sort of things that we're struggling with at the moment.
And what can we do? What can I do? Ordinary consumers?
buy second-hand, buy independent. Read your labels. If you're buying from the high street and something that says it's recycled cotton, then have a look on the label, because it might just be 30% recycled cotton and 70% polyester. Fix your clothes. Don't just throw them away. Fix little holes and stuff, and don't let the high street dictate your fashion, which should in turn stop, the constant need for buying more and more and more.
Is this gaining traction? Do you think more and more people are thinking, yes, I want to wear clothes that are environmentally friendly?
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think it's within, like, my personal Facebook and sort of social media echo chamber is very switched on to that. So I see that all the time. Loads of my friends and sort of my network of buying only second-hand. But then it comes down to an economical state where, like, if you can only afford to buy one piece of clothing a month, it's going to be hard to persuade that person to part with a lot of money for one cotton t-shirt, organic cotton t-shirt. So it's starting, but again, it comes back to that thing where the organic lifestyle is quite elite because it's so expensive. So it's starting, but it's going to take a while.
All right, Louise, we'll have to leave it there. Louise Halswell, fashion designer, thank you very much indeed. And that is a wrap for us on the News Hour. I'll be back in a couple of minutes with a full bulletin. Thanks for your company. Bye-bye for now.